We understand an upside-down world, but they're writing us off before we get to the starting line. A stalled generation? Who do you think is gonna fix all this? We will, because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day, and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more, because we have an appointment with destiny.
We've got, let's see, that is the boys. Would you like to know about the boys soccer D4 bracket? Because that's what I just pulled up. Awesome. Number 1 is Vincent Memorial. Number 2 is Claremont. Do you like them or I will ask you 1, 2, or the field for every bracket that we go to.
I would pick the field in this one.
Okay, then let's get to it then. Yeah. The first one, Vincent Memorial, Sweetwater. That's the 1-16 game happening on Tuesday. I'm assuming even though you take the field, you still like Vincent Memorial in this one.
Vincent's got a couple of very talented players. Raul Villarreal probably will be an all-league first-team guy. And then Pancho Tejada Perez, I think is his name, starting point guard. Both of them super talented, play in the Mexican national team system. They've had a really good year. I like them in this game. Sweetwater, shout out to them, though. I mean, like, I did not know that Jesse Aguirre had, like, any talent left at his disposal. Then I got a chance to watch them against Castle Park, and he's got this 6'4" kid, a senior, with, like, 6'9" wingspan, had like 12 blocks in a game against Castle Park. I'm like, this kid has a chance, you know, if he goes somewhere to the junior college level and maybe refines his skill set a little bit. But shout out to Jesse Aguirre for like getting them back in the playoffs and, you know.
Shout out to Jesse Aguirre for just putting up with this nonsense. He's been on the verge 2 or 3 times in the last 5 to 10 years, and then only to have transferring end up gutting him. Yeah. And I think that there's some coaches that wouldn't necessarily stick around after that experience having happened to them a couple times.
Yeah, for sure.
They might just say, hey, look, this isn't the game that I signed up for, and I don't want to do this. So congrats to Sweetwater on making it. Maybe Satan himself will come up and swallow Vincent Memorial as their mascot. But, most likely you're saying Vincent Memorial going to win this one. San Pasqual and Canyon Hills.
It'd be an interesting one, for sure.
San Pasqual is the big school that I was trying to reference in the D5. And D4, we do have some very big schools in D4, but it still feels weird sometimes having bigger schools. Do you give the de facto in all of these like an 8-9? That's a medium size. That's a middle matchup. Do you give it to the big school? Canyon Hills isn't necessarily that small either, but
I wouldn't give it to them based off of their enrollment size. I would give it to them based on they're the more talented team.
That seemed like a much more responsible way to give out that. So I applaud that.
Yeah, San Pasqual's got a couple of guys who have had really good careers. Chris Zamora has been their 4-year starter, really good player. AJ Fournier, another guy, a lot of upside.
Their football team also had some, for whatever reason, the class of 23 at San Pasqual seems to have contributed in aggregate quite a bit over their 4 years of being there, despite having a global pandemic and whatnot to hamstring their freshman years.
They've come through it pretty nicely.
Some pesky random whatever. Mar Vista, Mount Miguel. You got one more on Canyon Hills?
Canyon Hills, Ahmad Jackson's had a really good season. And, credit to Coach Brady Sirota. He's done a great job rebuilding that program the last few years. I mean, they went from being just an afterthought in that league, in the Central League, to now competing for a league championship. Ma Jackson is a kid who probably will go on to play some level of college basketball if he chooses to. But I just think that the talent advantage for San Pasqual will get them through.
Okay, I like it. Mar Vista, Mount Miguel is our next one. Mar Vista has made some deep runs the last 3-ish years.
Let me also
are they your field pick?
They're one of my field picks.
Okay.
But let me get on a soapbox real quick and really just some.
We'll let you. I will even turn my mic off so you can cook. It is all you.
Listen, 2 thumbs down to the South Bay League coaches. They had their all league meetings Saturday morning, and Coach Shane Crumrine could not attend the meeting. He had some personal issues going on, and Mar Vista, they were the second place team. They were clearly and convincing the second best team in that league. Victory Christian and them. Josiah Scott, 1,500 points score, been an all-league guy before. But because their coach doesn't show up to the meeting and can't make it to the meeting, the other coaches aren't going to put that kid on the first team. Are you out of your mind? How dare you guys do that to a kid? Listen, I get it. Coaches have huge egos, and when 5 of you guys show up to a meeting and another guy doesn't show up, you feel a little hurt about it, but don't take it out on the kids, man. This is a kid's game. This is supposed to be fun, and that kid did everything he was supposed to. For you guys not to reward him as an all-league selection, first of all, it looks really bad on your league, and secondly, it damages that kid's chances to get in all-star games that, you have to be an all-league selection to play in those all-star games. So you guys really have hurt him, more than sending a message to his coach, because his coach is going to be there next year. He's going to show up to the meeting and make sure that you guys don't screw his kids next year.
I have lost a little bit of faith in the all-league process, despite the fact that I sort of think I'm directly responsible for it because it's a Breitbart Award and it's part of my sports association job. So I guess I am losing faith in myself. But the all CIF process seems to be a little bit more actually based on the
performance,
holistic, cumulative look at the player versus we finished first in league, we get 3 slots. You finish second in league, you get 2 slots. You finish third in league.
Or if I don't show up to the meeting, like my kid, my team didn't do anything all year.
Yeah.
Come on, what is that?
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So
I like Mar Vista in this game against Mount Miguel. Mount Miguel is another team that actually overperformed what I thought they would do this year. Part of that is because the bottom half of that Grossmont Valley League is pretty bad this year. But here they are, 12 seed.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, but I like Mar Vista in that matchup.
All right, so for this next one, I have to throw out a disclaimer.
the disclaimer, you've had to throw this out for like 7 years.
Well,
right?
the problem with me is that I sort of get lost in the show canon and assume that we have fans that are still watching this show from several years ago. When in fact, the turnover rate is generally, once people graduate after a year or two, they stop hyper dialing in. Many years ago, I pushed all the chips in on a 13-seeded Hilltop team. 14-seeded Hilltop team. And I looked like a freaking prophet, man. I looked like CPED knows what he's talking about. I have had LCAP in studio this year, and I really like those kids. A bunch of cool kids, very cool story. I like their coach. I like that they're kids from the reservation, the res kids. And everything should say that this is going to be an LCAP win. But like for my own personal self-enjoyment, I'm going to just keep doing the show and say I pick Hilltop here.
That is your stick, and you've got to stick to it. I'm picking LCAP. There we go.
Last year, St. Joseph's Academy, they had a great season in D5.
1D5.
They are now the 6th seed in D4.
They're my dark horse.
They are your dark horse. Yes. Okay.
Angel
Why?
Ochoa. Just two words, Angel Ochoa. Go look up his max prep stats and then tell me, have we seen a kid as a sophomore? Or
we're not allowed to mention max preps.
That is right. Go to SB Live.
There's no stats on this website, but we're not allowed.
Hey, let me just tell you this right now. Go call Ben Fernandez and ask him, has he ever seen a sophomore score 34 points per game? And that includes dropping 30 on teams like Carlsbad. Like he is a legit, like.
We're going to put that on the poll at SD Prep Insider right now. Has Ben Fernandez ever seen a...
It might be Ben Hernandez.
We're going to put Ben Fernandez.
But I will say this right now. I got a chance to watch him against Tri-City Christian in that tournament that no one cared about. And he scored 40 points and made it look really easy. He is a very impressive basketball player. And again, there's about 5 or 6 of these kids who are playing in the Mexican national system during the offseason. He's one of them. And all of them have had a huge impact at their respective schools. St. Joe's, Like,
You like it. You like where they're headed.
I like where they're
I'm
headed.
with you on that.
And I'm glad that they don't have to go all the way out to Blythe to play Palo Verde.
Well, talking about all the way out there, the next game is Imperial playing host to Southwest San Diego. I like Imperial here. I'm assuming you like Imperial here as well.
And Imperial's the field for me. When I talk about the field, I talk about
you
Imperial.
like the cumulative of St. Joseph's, Imperial, and to a smaller degree, LCAP being the field versus Midmore. Okay, sweet. I love
really like Imperial. David Scariano, 6'7", averages 23 points per game. He's, if he were in San Diego, he would be an all CIF selection. It's tougher to make that argument when you're that far out.
It's actually technically not. All he has to do is have his league rep show up to the meeting
and try to make a case.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really,
well, you're also back in on the voting now.
Yes.
Whether John Maffey wants it or not, you're back.
I will try to make a case for him for some level of
We're also doing
recognition.
all division teams this year, so that will help.
Yeah. He and Angelo Ochoa are probably the D4 players of the year.
We're not doing players of the year because I don't want to get into that. I don't want to step on that landmine, but we'll do all division teams.
But they're all division guys for sure. And Scariano is a good player, and I think that they get over Southwest SD. By the way, the Raiders have a really good player too with some lineage. Remember we talked about that Raiders team. The younger brother of one of those guards, Xavier Gonzalez is his name. He's a 2024 guard.
Okay.
He's had a huge year, and his brother started.
So he's breaking out this year. Will be their featured piece next year.
Yeah, he'll
so
be a
get him
monster.
a little title time. They get him a little playoff time this year. Kearney, the number 7, is playing host to Calvin Christian. The 7-10 feels like ultimately none of these are going to come out as a long-term threat, but what do you like in this game?
Man, this is hard. It depends on what Kearney shows up. I mean, because the Kearney at the beginning of the year,
it's not going to be Robbie Robinson and Dakota Brown.
They're not walking through the door. But at the beginning of the year, they had Matthew Bowman. Isaiah Baker's had a monster season for them.
Yes.
In a football, I guess he had the same.
He's just a good athlete.
He's
He's one of those guys that you sort of see him make a couple tackles and a catch, and you're like, what position does he play? He's like, I don't know. I play athlete.
And then Andre Gray, the transfer from UC. So at the beginning of the year, they looked great. I mean, they were mowing teams down. Then they got hit with ineligibility issues, kids having to work instead of playing basketball. And things kind of fell apart there for a while down the stretch. But now they got a couple of those guys back, and they've beaten Calvin Christian before. They beat them earlier in the season. Calvin has played some of their better basketball as of late. And Vincent Patterson is a really good player for them. Josiah Panis, all-league second-team guard as well. I'm still thinking that Kearney probably gets it done.
I want to say Kearney just because of the next potential matchup for the Linda Vista throwdown of Claremont versus Kearney. So, yeah, I'll go with Kearney on that one. Next game is number 15 Brawley coming in to play number 2 Claremont. Claremont all year seems consistently good. I'm assuming not necessarily the flashiest team that you've ever seen, but you like what they bring to the table for a win here in this first round against Brawley.
Of course. They've had success all year. They've only lost like 4 games? 5?
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
5 feels like too many.
Yeah, I think it's 4. I think they were like 24-4, which was a school record.
According to what they submitted.
Yeah. We'll get to that later. But yeah, 24-4, didn't play a great schedule, but won the games they were supposed to. And
that is an underrated. Winning what you're supposed to win is an underrated quality for a team.
Yeah.